Right.
Okay, so you want,
They're having more fun than we.
You gotta cut them.
You can tell they're from the theater.
Okay, we're gonna call to order the regular meeting of October 25th, 2021. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Here.
Salvia,
here.
Albrecht,
Here.
Harrison,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
Sage.
Here.
Thank you. Will you now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out on a not quite as nice night as it's been, but I guess that's fall in Michigan. First, on a rather sad note, we want to open with the death of a high school student at Stoney Creek High School, Alisa Voltick. She was killed. She was hit in a car wreck and passed away, unfortunately. She was in the marching band at Stoney Creek and I guess was an excellent musician. And it's always sad and tragic when somebody dies, but especially a young person who has their whole life ahead of them. So our thoughts and prayers go out to their family. I'd like to have a moment of silence, but before we do that, Councilmember Albrecht is a neighbor of theirs and just wanted to say something as well. Councilmember Albrecht?
Thank you, Mayor. Alyssa and her family live in Stoney Creek Ridge North, and yesterday we were having our annual Halloween parade for all the children, and we just got word that she had passed a few minutes before then. And normally the parade starts like within one house of hers, and we spoke to her father, and he said she would want the parade to go on. And so we moved it down half a block to the Rochester Police and Rochester Fire Department come out, and it was, a nice event for the kids. But it sort of put a damper on the event, and a lot of the neighbors were very upset, are upset. And when the accident happened, there was a GoFundMe account set up that I know some of you in here and those of you listening contributed to, and it last time I had checked it was over $140,000 that was raised. So you could tell that she's loved, the family is loved. And talking to the family, they're from Canada, and the grandparents were trying to get in after the accident, and because of the COVID laws, they got turned away in Sarnia, had to go back to Toronto, get a COVID test, and did get in time to see her. But prayers for her family and the family of the other student involved in the accident. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So let's have a moment of silence now. Thank you. Okay. Next, a public comment. The report from the DDA is going to be postponed to the next meeting due to a scheduling conflict. So next we will receive an update from Oakland County Commissioner Adam Kokendorfer. Commissioner Kokendorfer, welcome to our meeting. How are you?
I'm good, Mayor. How are you?
Good. So welcome. Let's hear your state of the world in the county.
I appreciate it. Mayor Vixen, members of City Council, thank you very much for having me. First off, obviously I knew about the accident, but this is the first I had heard that she had, our student had passed away. And so obviously my condolences, the entire county's condolences to that family. I know the area well. The accident was right outside my subdivision out on Tinkin. I've already reached out to Oakland County Road Commission. I've asked that they conduct a thorough investigation. They've indicated that they will. They're waiting for the police report right now, which can wait it can take a little while. So I'll continue to follow up that matter. And again, our prayers are with all of them right now. Update with the county. We've been busy as always. Probably the most important thing that we do each year is to pass our annual budget. It's a little over $900 million each year. We just passed our 3-year budget. And happy to say that there's some very good things in there, both for the city of Rochester and for all of Oakland County. Among other things, we've got $4 million for matching monies for local roads and county roads. City of Rochester always takes advantage of that each year, and so my hat off as always to your city manager, who's always on top of it. I think you received some money from that fund earlier this year for improvements to 2nd Street, and so we'll continue working on that. Again, if I can be of any assistance in getting those funds, securing those for the city, do not hesitate to let me know. Some of the other items in the budget: $250,000 for invasive species, which sometimes is an issue for our surrounding area, both Rochester and Rochester Hills. Another area that was interesting is embedding new social workers in the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. And this can sometimes be a hot topic, so I want to be clear. Sheriff Bouchard was very much in favor of this. It wasn't at the expense of any members of our police force, but I think it'll be very helpful in dealing with some of the other some of the challenges that they face. The other big thing that we have going on, obviously, is the federal money that just came in. Last year, we had received money from the CARES Act for strictly COVID-related issues. The county now has received approximately $244 million under the American Rescue Plan. We're being cautious with how we spend that money because, frankly, we don't know what else may be coming in the form of infrastructure funds. And so being judicious with it, making sure that we're spending it in a way that makes sense. One of the things that we've heard is with all the COVID-related issues, we've had a problem with lab space and being able to get enough testing into our labs. And so looking at potentially expanding that. We also set aside some money for funding local water infrastructure projects, about $2 million worth. And so that would be for pre-engineering, for scope-related services, for consultants, when communities are looking at potential local water infrastructure projects. And so if the city has any interest in that, don't hesitate to let me know. Happy to help out. Other issues that we've been working on is, again, working in conjunction with Sheriff Bouchard, implementing body-worn camera systems on all of our county sheriff deputies. And that's going well and executing the contract well with that as well. And so lots of things happening. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but as always, any of you are always welcome to reach out to me. You have my email address, you've got my cell phone, or else someone can give it to you, and happy to help out any way I can.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions from council? Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for the updates, and thank you for the comments on the tragedy that recently occurred here on Tinkin Road and your request for the police report. I have had several residents already ask, where can we send petitions to? And I'm also thinking, with some money coming, is there any opportunities for safety grants or anything that could potentially improve there? So just any thoughts on what residents where they can direct those thoughts towards?
No, those are great comments, Mayor Pro Tem. I fully agree. Anyone who has any safety-related issues can always send me an email. My email address is on the county web page. But regardless, I will continue to stay on it. And you're absolutely right. In the event that there are needed improvements, we have funding, and I will do everything I can to make sure that it goes toward that.
Thank you.
Further comments? Thank you very much, Commissioner Kokender. Nice to see you, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Always a pleasure. Have a good meeting.
All right, see you. Thank you. Okay, on to the approval of the minutes. Is a consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 11th, 2021.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Peterson,
Support.
support by the Mayor Pro Tem. Discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is approval of the consent agenda. First is a consideration of a special event application from the Rochester Regional Chamber Foundation to hold the Rochester Hometown Christmas Parade on Sunday, December 5th. And then also a review of current event calendar. And we have our new chamber president with us, so congratulations, Maggie. And would you like to obviously talk about the Christmas parade?
This is our 70th anniversary. We are very excited to be able to bring this back to the community. I'm looking forward to it more than probably not more than my kids. They cried last year. But we came just in case you had any questions, and I wanted to sincerely thank all of you. I am the geek that watches all the council meetings, all the planning commission meetings, and the DDA meetings, just so that I'm up to date. But I can't tell you how much it warmed my heart after the Pinnacles to have all of your guys' support. So I look forward to working with you guys as always. So
Thank you. And welcome, Linda Kirksey Davis.
Yes, I'm the new foundation chair of the Rochester Regional Chamber Foundation, and that's for the Christmas parade. So any questions we can answer. We are so excited to have it come back again. So many people were disappointed last year, like all of us, but we're back and we're excited to try to bring us together during the holidays. So if there's anything we can answer for you,
Do we know the theme?
Community Christmas.
yes. And this is our 70th year.
Fantastic. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question. How do you become a parade champion, and is that new this year?
Oh, yeah.
So, we are doing, it's a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. The parade, we break even on the parade, every year. But, the foundation has decided that we want to each year be able to set aside some sort of money, in a special fund that is not used in the following year for any of the facilitation of the parade. But just in case we were to lose a sponsorship, we needed to, do something extraordinary, we would be able to have those funds in our, within our reach, to be able to continue to bring the parade to the community. Parade champions, we're pitting everyone against themselves. Ambassadors against ambassadors, PCN groups against PCN groups.
Small businesses against small businesses.
So there will be, we have created what we consider the ultimate parade experience. I have actually this year partnered with the Detroit Parade Company. You will see a lot of rented floats coming down Main Street this year. Cinderella's carriage was confirmed today.
So
So we're excited, and we have rented a float. The highest, contributor to the peer-to-peer campaign will actually get to ride in the parade in their own floats. They will have tickets to the VIP experience in the morning, be honored at the Grand Marshal celebration, and also be able to sit on the stage where Miss Linda and Miss Chris Hughes will be announcing from 3rd and Main. So it'll be a really great experience. And just to let you guys know, Mr. and Mrs. Bill Byers are our parade grand marshals this year.
Yes,
So.
yes.
Very good.
And to answer your question, Amanda, if you go on our website, there is a specific page for the Christmas parade. It's under the foundation tab, and all the information is there.
Thank you.
Councilmember Albrecht.
At the Pinnacle Awards, you had I'm going to not dip to,
Yes,
Yes.
dip jar.
which basically was you put your credit card in and it registered a donation, I guess, in $25 increments. How did that do, and is that going to continue on, and can people still access that?
The dip jar is a unique tool that we use. I actually have lent it out at this moment because we do that for the nonprofits in the area. The Rainbow Connection has it until next week. They're down at on Tilson Street. And but the dip jar is always available in the office. We still are running the special that anyone who donates $50 to the peer-to-peer campaign will receive a book from Clint Pleasant. He has written a book. It's called The Letters of Advent to Advent. So we'll be delivering those also.
Thank you.
Very good. I'm impressed that you watch all of our meetings.
I do.
Very impressive. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Well, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by the Mayor Pro Tem Salvia, support by Councilmember Harrison. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Have a Christmas parade, yes.
Very
Thank you,
much.
Congrats.
Appreciate it. We'll see you there.
Congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
Okay, next is, we have no old business or tabled items, public hearings, legislative deliberation, discussion on the use of community development block grant, CDBG funds for program year 2022. Mr. City Manager.
Actually, Sienna is our person overseeing our CDBG dollars. I believe she's on, yep.
Welcome,
I am.
Sienna. Welcome.
Hello.
It's not a planning commission meeting tonight.
No, I'm so special. I get to join you guys
All
today.
right. You are definitely special. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm definitely going to ask for Nick's help if you guys have any questions about option A or option B. So it's that time of the year where we'll need to decide a project to use the CDBG funding for 2022. And as you all know, the previous, I believe, 2 or 3 years, we used the money for the vestibule. Hopefully we will start that next spring, I believe. So therefore, this year we'll need to actually fill out an application to either pay for the installation of new ADA compliant sidewalks, parking spaces adjacent to the butterfly garden, or we can use the funding that we used. I don't know if you guys remember. In 2019, we had about 4 years of funding, and we actually replaced the pathways in the municipal park to make them ADA compliant. And I believe they were 6 feet, and now we're using them we redid the paths to make them 10 feet to make them ADA compliant. So we basically wanted to ask you all, what do you guys think, and what would your option to be to use the 2022 funding for?
Councilmember Albrecht?
Councilmember Peterson.
No, I guess as far as discussion on this, I would like to stick with option B since we did start that project, and it would continue through the park to finish up the sidewalks to make them ADA compliant. Since we did spend a good chunk of money the last time, I think we should actually finish that project.
Okay.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yeah, I had a question, and I spoke to the city manager because I want to understand the difference between option A and option B. And option A is, I didn't know what the cost with option B was, and if I misspeak, please could jump in, because I want to know what option B was, how much did it cost, and basically, as it was explained to me, we don't know how much money we'll get. So if it's over, the 25 to 30,000 that has been earmarked for option A, we would spend money on option B, and option B is something that's going to be ongoing for years to come. I guess it's the walkways throughout the park, and this grant is not going to cover option B. If we get, so let's just, for argument's sake, $35,000, we would do $35,000 worth of walkways through the park, and it would be an ongoing project, and I think we have already done $63,000 worth of ADA compliant walkways going from the 6.5 feet to the 9 feet required by ADA. So I just wanted to clarify that for as we vote on this.
If I could just add, so we actually, I believe, have to pick either A or B. There's not a way to split, so it would be, again, we don't know the estimated costs. Nick might know a little bit more precise, but right now we just have estimates for the work that's the ADA component for option A, that's next to the butterfly garden. And then for B, as was just stated, we had our engineers go through. It's about $1 million to upgrade the whole entire Rochester pathways in the municipal park, and we have completed about just under 65,000 initially, so.
Councilmember
It
Harrison.
was actually 87.
87? Okay.
I think we used 87,000
Thank you.
last time, because it was about 4 years, so, yeah.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. Option A is part of a much larger plan that I know Nick has been talking about for many years now, creating that berm outside of the municipal park. It's a really beautiful plan. Does this would be the start to that, around $30,000 invested into that project. Does it commit us in any way to do the remainder of the project? And looking at this rendering, would we be committed to taking away those parking spaces up front right now? Would we lose those parking spaces until we can move them to a different location, as you've discussed before?
I think Nick might be the one to answer that one.
I can. Hi, everybody. The answer would be yes, we would, to do it properly, we would go ahead and work with DPW to remove the spaces. We could build a berm on our own. We don't need dollars. That we have the earth and we have the infrastructure. The 25 to 30,000 would be for the sidewalks, the entry points where the handicap spaces would be. But the answer directly would be yes, we would lose those spaces until we infill the other spaces, which is part of the redo of the campus, Councilwoman Harrison. So yes, we would lose those 10 spaces probably for a bit.
Would they be replaced with the same CBG money, or would we need to fund that separately?
We would need to fund that separately.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. Just a few thoughts that I have on A. There's a lot of elements here that I really like. I like the ADA compliance, I like the pathways, I like cleaning up some of the areas along the river, making that more enjoyable space. But I can't support eliminating those parking spots. I mean, that parking lot is packed every night, every spot is full. So, I have to go with B, and I just think maybe we can continue to keep reworking this plan, because we can't lose the parking spaces.
Councilmember Albrecht.
A question for Nick. Are we losing, I see we're losing, it looks like the spaces near the sundial, but then aren't we creating 7 other parking spaces? What's the net gain or loss?
Yeah, so there was a way to gain, if you can picture by the tennis courts, there's an island that we could get 2 spots in. There's a couple spots on the campus to pick up 4. We were going to go across from the police garage, the garage entry point, and make up the difference of the parking. And looking at that with the police chief and looking at that with a new green space that's taking away the previous area, we don't think that's a good idea. So we would end up net loss of probably 4 spaces, to be honest with you. We can look at trying to restrike the existing lot number 10 and pick up, roll at the other end of across by Dr. Tala's property. We don't know that exactly now. So it can be part of a long-range plan. I was fine with that. It just came up that this would be enough to probably get the sidewalk part done. But you should do this all at one time, so that helps.
Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. So I guess my question is if this has been a long-term plan that's been in process, why hasn't it been brought before the grant committee so we can go looking for grants, since it is ADA and that is for both things right now? I do know that the federal funding for CDBG, we've left that money alone all these years to go into the park and be utilized for that. But if this is to redo this area here to make it ADA compliant, I think there's other options that we could have available to do that and maybe get a lot more of it funded besides, because if you're going to have to fund it separately, we might as well be doing it, looking for a grant.
Councilmember Harrison.
I'm supportive of this plan, Nick. I love this idea. I'm excited to see a berm come in, but I can't support a plan without seeing the plan for removing, or where we're going to replace these parking spots, because it is a very busy parking lot, and I want to make sure that we know and understand what the cost of that is going to be, so that way it's part of the plan, and we can decide it all at the same time.
That's fine. We can bring it to goals and objectives to see if we want to, put our own money in it. That's not a problem. Just go with plan B.
Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would concur with my colleagues. I think it would be prudent to continue on with the work we've started in Municipal Park to make it ADA compliant. I understand it's a big hill to climb there, but I think it would be a good use of dollars to continue that project on option B.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, thank you. And I guess because this was a plan that wasn't ever brought before us for goals and objectives, it would be nice to not bring it and make it part of something else unless we've actually already vetted it out during goals and objectives.
So, Mr. City Manager, why don't you add that to goals and objectives?
Make sure the clerk notes that.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. So in light of the conversation, I would like to make a motion to go with option B, and reading here that authorizing administration to designate the CDBG funding for the year of 2022 to be used for option B, and to schedule the public hearing for November 23rd, 2021.
Support.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem, support by Councilmember Albrecht. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Very good. Next, we have a resolution for the Avon Players' 75th anniversary. So we have a little thing here, and I will read this. Whereas the Avon Players began their first season in 1947. And whereas the Avon Players' current building on the location of Washington Road was opened in December of 1965. And whereas the Avon Players have been an icon in the greater Rochester area for 75 years. Now therefore be resolved that the Rochester City Council does hereby congratulate Avon Players on the opening of their 75th season in 2021 and wish them continued longevity in the community. So I'd like to give this to Ms. O'Brien and congratulate you guys.
You want to get in there too?
Oh, no.
You sure?
She's my photographer.
You travel with your own photographer.
Sure. Yes, so hi, I'm Caitlin O'Brien. I am the Vice President of Membership for Avon Players Theater. And we just actually closed our opening show of our 2021-2022 season, which was our first show back since we had to close Lend Me a Tenor back in March of 2020. It was a big success. We had great audiences. Everyone was just so excited to be back in the theater and see live performances again. So we're so thrilled that we were able to return for our 75th anniversary season. We've got lots of fun things happening this season to mark the anniversary, but one big one is we are holding a special fundraising campaign this season to try and raise the funds that we need to replace all of the chairs in the theater. The chairs have been there since, I believe,
1947?
We were trying to, Detroit hosted the Republican National Convention, and I'm trying to remember which year it was.
1980?
So we got them from that.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
These chairs were used in that, and they were then donated to the theater. So they've been there for 40 years, and they're not super comfortable. So we're trying to raise the funds to replace them. So that's something that we've got ongoing this season. Little plug: our next show, 1940. Oh my gosh, I'm wrong. It's a Wonderful Life. The live radio play is going to be opening Thanksgiving weekend. So come out, check that out, come support the theater, and thank you so much for recognizing us. We're happy to be part of the community and look forward to continuing to do so for another 75 years. Thank you.
Congrats. Just as a trivia thing, Ronald Reagan was nominated in Detroit in 1980. So it seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? Okay, next on to reports and regular business, consideration of an update to the master fee schedule for 2021. Mr. City Manager?
Yep, I'm not sure if it's Marcy or Anthony jumping in on this one, but they both worked on the presentation.
Marcy.
So I think I see Marcy, and in the packet, it's on starting on page 22.
Marcy, welcome.
Hello. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for taking the time to discuss master fee schedules. We just wanted to give you a little brief update on what we've got going on. So basically last year during the pandemic, City Council determined to hold master fee schedule, all the charges and fees without change. So this year, as part of our annual budget process, we're proposing and making recommendation to City Council, as is included in the packet, for those items that are highlighted in yellow. So I don't know if there are specific questions about it, but if you have questions, let us know. There's a summary of the changes included in the memo. And if you have any questions on a specific fee or a department, let us know that.
Thank you. Council? Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. So I do have a few questions. First, there was nothing in there to show us what the FOIA recommendations are for the ones that were stated as FOIA recommended. Also, there's some areas where registration fees went down, and I was curious as to why, because they seem to be like in the same realm. The plumbing contractor was one of them. It went from 25 to 15. And then I would really like to know how we came up with the numbers for the increases.
Sure. So on the FOIA, it is different by the number, what the media that is being requested. So maybe Attorney Crott can give us some backstory on how the FOIA pricing goes, but it's determined federally on the rates that the city charges. So where the city had in the master fee schedule a rate for, say, the city code, we would need to follow the FOIA guidelines to be in compliance with that regulation. Regarding the building registration, the state of Michigan requires certain fees for registration for building, plumbing, mechanical, and electrical contractors. So we are simply trying to be in compliance with what the state requires for us. And specifically with building, the fees that are changing there, we have to follow PA 245 of 1999, whereas the city is not permitted to make a profit on building fees and building cost. So we at the recommendation of our new building official, we analyzed the local communities and the charges that our surrounding communities have. We got this information from our new building official. So we're trying to be more similar in our costing. So that is some of the building changes that were recommended. For instance, just for transparency, we made some of the changes, whereas we didn't have building plan review, which is P6, that wasn't in our previous master fee schedule. So some of the changes that we're recommending are just to make our fee schedule more compliant and more transparent for the public.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yeah, just to follow up then. Well, then I guess I'm concerned why we went down in, would be P75, 76, 77, and 78 on page 29 and 30. Actual 28 is the actual document page number, but why we went down then from what it was originally, and were we overcharging then at a point That is the first concern. Second one is at the beginning of the package of fees here. Why are we now charging a $25 application fee? And then what is, after the second inspection, an additional $65? How did these dollars come about to be charged?
So for the building permit fees, we didn't charge an application fee previously, but it still takes our building clerk the same amount of time and the same amount of cost for her particular jobs, so that it does for the trade fees, for her to process it and schedule inspections and do the scanning and the necessary steps to process those fees. So whereas we had the $25 application fee on the trades, we didn't have it for the building permit fee. So we're just trying to make it consistent among the protective services department, that if our clerk has to process a building fee, we cover that expense the same way we would with a trade. Now, on the second inspection fee, when a person pulls a building permit, they get 2 inspections. They'll have the first inspection, and then oftentimes the inspector will have to go out a second time. So we would only charge a reinspection fee after the second inspection if it's necessary. And that's as we do for the trades, the mechanical, the plumbing, the electrical. So we're attempting to get consistent with our pricing.
And follow up, Mayor?
Yep.
Okay, so then do we have that stated somewhere when the public comes in to do this, that there's no reinspection fee unless it's after the second inspection? Is that clearly stated for the public?
It's included in the building permit.
Okay, just as long as it's all clear. All right, so one other concern. Get to that page. So when we originally put this together 2 years ago, and I understand we didn't do this last year just because it wasn't feasible, I do know that all the fees that we are collecting in the building department, it was stated those fees back when we hired that other department building clerk, that was to cover all the expenses of that department. Have we had a full breakdown of that department to see if we are, how much overage we are collecting from all the development that's happening for, the coverage of that position? Because that's how this was originally set up, was we were going to, that department was supposed to take care of itself as far as all the fees that were concerned and the pay of that position.
So I don't know that we have specifically broken that down and analyzed that as it differs from 2019 to 2021. But at the audit time, our external auditor, she'll do that investigation too, because for the compliance with PA 245.
Ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcy. So we have reviewed this several times, 2 times in the Budget Committee. And so some of my thoughts and after studying this and thinking about it is, number one, kind of the main point here is that we're just looking to cover cost. We are adjusting to to be similar with other municipalities, kind of market rates, if you will. This does generate potentially $45,000 a year in additional revenue for the city. But again, not from a price gouging standpoint. We want our, just to cover the cost of the services. We spent quite a bit of time talking about the curbside and DPW waste drop-offs, and really kind of came back to where we didn't want to make big jumps in any price changes here, but we really just kind of sound like a broken drum or broken record here. We just want to cover the cost. So I think it's a good part of our budget process to review this every time. And so I'm in support of the fee schedule as presented. The other point is that it would go into effect January 1st of 2022. So there's a little bit of time before it would go into effect.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, thank you. So, in light of all of that information that was just stated by Mayor Pro Tem Salvia, my concern is, though, we have not seen anything showing a full breakdown of why I can understand being compliant with what we need to, but to know whether or not we are covering all the costs of services, we've never seen anything that has shown otherwise that we have not, or have been told otherwise that we have not had, that we have been short in that department. And with all the building that has been going on, I would assume that we have not.
My understanding, and again, finance can probably put the records together, that we've actually never, since I've been here, so the last 6 years, actually covered our costs. We're getting closer and closer, but I'm happy to work with finance to see what the numbers specifically say.
So if I could, in the audit at the last audit that was presented in December of 2020, that delta we are negative, historically negative, $555,650. So we are always running a deficit. It's one of those where we can't catch up, but with these changes that we're presenting, the building changes specifically, the proposed changes would generate $35,955 more dollars from just the building department changes. So we're trying to, as Mayor Pro Tem stated, we're trying to get closer to that break even, but we are certainly not at a point where we're gouging the public on the cost that we're charging for the services.
Councilmember Albrecht.
You said the delta was about 55,000 and change?
550, the delta from PA 245 as presented in the audit is a deficit of 555,650, and that is a cumulative deficit. So it's one that we try to whittle that down, but then we're very careful not to close that gap, because the Public Act doesn't allow us to, or does not permit us to make a profit on the protective services provided.
I would like to support the motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Salvia. We did go over this line by line.
I didn't make a motion. You can make it.
I thought you did.
No.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to make a motion?
I guess I
You
will.
can. I was leaving room.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution with requested fee changes, including the attached master fee schedule, to be effective January 1st, 2022. My point was, we did go over this line by line, and we looked at what, we compared it to some of the local Rochester Hills and other communities. We even reduced some recommended ones that finance had requested to further close the gap. We didn't want to go there all in one fall swoop. And I, as Mayor Pro Tem said, I think this needs to be an annual process that we look at each year.
So motion by Councilmember Albrecht, support by Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Yes.
Further discussion. Councilmember Peterson.
So I am not made aware of all the discussions that take place in that committee on this type of thing. And I think that's where this type of discussion needs to come to the full council, so we can all have the same understanding of where everything has been. So it would eliminate a lot of questions. It would actually be more transparent to the whole public that we are sitting here as a group reviewing something that is major, that we are trying to make sure we collect enough money to cover these deltas that are necessary, and that we are doing what is right. However, I do also think that we also shortchange ourselves each time by always comparing us to other municipalities that are larger than us, that surround us, and we are not looking at us as a whole to determine what is best for our own community, and we just take bits and pieces from the other communities to try to come up with something, and that's why we are going to continually be raising the rates on this year after year, based on what everyone else is doing. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
I'm sorry, Councilmember Sage, did you have a comment?
I just had a question. So under PA 245, we're not allowed to make a profit, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so isn't that going to be our check and balance as far as our review of the master fees? I don't know, I'm asking a hypothetical question here.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we go, we go through, and I'm sure Marcy, you know, our auditor will advise us if we think we're ever getting close. With the number being, you know, over $500,000, I think we can continue to whittle away for probably 40, 50 years, and we're still not going to get caught up. You know, I think when we do go out to the market to look at some of our comparables, I know for at least for the building clerk, they're also looking at what is our employee costing to do that task. In addition, kind of the market rate component to see, okay, this task takes so much time. What is this employee getting paid? To actually come up and confirm, okay, is this $25 or should it be $15 based on what, you know, if what that really looks like. And maybe Marcy, you can kind of describe kind of, you know, I guess the process as it went through.
So you're exactly right. So what we do is we calculate how much time it takes from the customer coming in to taking the permit processing it out, passing it on to, it's going to go to the building official, then it will go to the inspector, then we process the wages for the inspector. We may have multiple inspections that we plan. We calc all of that in, and we average out the amount of time that it takes for that. And that's why we recognize that on the building permits, those take the same amount of time to process, that the clerk was not getting any revenue coming in to offset her expense. So we just are recommending it was actually our building official was recommending that we, you know, address this and see if we can't cut down some of that bleeding, because it's work that's done. It's work that's done regardless of the type of permit, and we're just trying to address, you know, attempting to get to a closer to a break-even point for that.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, thank you. So when this position was presented to us, though, it was presented to us that it was going to pay for itself in that. So I would just suggest, though, that for the future, we actually have all those costs lined up and it's looked at more clear before we hire somebody for a position that we're not collecting enough money to cover.
We are covering the employee's cost. All of the other costs in the building department are the ones, and the actual work that they're doing are the costs that, just as we get more projects that come in, there's actual costs to those as they come in.
I understand that. However, it's not, when you are now separately increasing the price for somebody to come in to do that permit from the 10 to the 25, which I understand with the rate of inflation and pay and all of that. When you talk about what we originally said when we were going to hire this person compared to what is being stated now, it's not 100% lining up. That's my concern.
Okay, so there's two people actually in the building department. So the one that we talked about is the building official, and that one compared to the building clerk that's actually been
No,
here.
it was regarding the clerk that we talked about, how it was going to, all the fees were going to cover that position. So I just want to make sure that going forward, that is 100% clear.
I'll go back with the city clerk's help. I believe it was the building official when I was here. The building clerk we filled that spot several times. So I'll go back and check the record with the clerk's help.
Very good. And I just want to thank Finance for all their work on this, and the Budget Committee. I know you guys went over this with the fine-tooth comb, so thank you for that. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Now on to consideration of investment strategy presented by Morgan Stanley. We have Jessica and Dan here from Morgan Stanley to present. And Mr. City Manager, do you want to add anything?
I don't believe so. I think Jessica's going to start and Dan's there, and I know finance has done a lot of the heavy lifting on this one, so.
So Jessica, welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, we good?
I am assuming that you can. Okay,
Yes, we
perfect.
can.
Okay, thank you so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate it. I'm Jessica Fitzgerald with Morgan Stanley, and my team, along with Dan and others, we're really fortunate enough to serve as the consultants for the pension trusts, the OPEB trust, and the defined contribution retirement plans. I have to apologize to you as I'm looking at myself here. I am actually joining you from a hotel in Nashville, Tennessee, which has apparently the slowest internet that I have ever seen. So hopefully you can hear me. I know that my video is stalling, so I'll try and maybe talk a little bit slower here. But basically, and let me know if you can't hear me for whatever
Everything's
reason.
fine.
Right now, you're perfectly fine, Jessica.
Okay, fantastic. Appreciate it. So today we're here to talk about the city's general funds due to the fiscal, responsibility, I assume, of all of you. You have a very healthy balance in the general fund today. Basically, as an investment consultant, we're really here just to help you get a little more interest on that money. So this is a presentation that we went through with the Finance Committee, I think approximately a month ago, and now we're bringing it to the full council. Would you like for me to screen share the presentation with the group?
Sure, if you want to. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I'm getting major internet delay here, but hopefully everybody can see that.
Yep, you're up.
You're good?
Fantastic. All right, let's see if this will work. Okay, so basically, the problem is that we're in a low interest rate environment. Rates have basically hit all-time lows, and they're going to stay low for quite some time. This is where Morgan Stanley kind of comes into play. We have a solution for you today, and then we have some specifics about interest rates and what you can expect going forward. So the city general fund, for the most part, invests in things like what you see here. This is a money market fund, and it's called Michigan Class. I will say that the Michigan Class money market fund is a great option. As you can see here, it has daily liquidity. It is fully invested in high quality short-term fixed income instruments. There is an investment manager who is actually managing those investments. And you can see the investment management fees are relatively low at 0.13%. So the problem is the money market funds right now are yielding 0.025%. And if you just look at the chart really kind of says it all. I mean, you can see interest rates were, at one point much higher, over 1%, and then they've completely collapsed and basically just flatlined. And anybody who has cash at the bank right now, that you're just not getting that much money on your cash. So that's a big problem. And I think one of the biggest problems is that rates are low today, and they're going to stay low for a long time, going forward. So you can see here, this is kind of a chart of interest rate futures, and basically what it shows is that interest rates, even over the next 1 or 2 years, are still going to be far below 1%. And actually, interest rates next year are expected only to be about 0.15%. So interest rates are just super, super low.
Hey, Jessica, if I can jump in, is everybody else hearing that echo as well?
No, we're not hearing it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. Okay.
It's me and you. I can hear the echo too, and it's a little distracting, but as long as nobody else can hear it, that's fine.
Perfect.
Okay, so we introduced this page basically, or little pieces of this page to the Finance Committee. I think that was about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. And basically, this is a representative portfolio, essentially just to get some higher interest income. This is basically what it looks like. So we are recommending a portfolio managed by Sage Advisory. Their portfolio right now is yielding approximately, this is on a net basis, 0.40% net. Just in comparison to the Michigan Class Money Market Fund at 0.025% net, I mean, that is, a sizable difference. And just to put this in numbers, which I think has the biggest impact, for example, if you had designated, let's just say $17 to $18 million for kind of, long-term to midterm project, that investment would hypothetically return $70,000 over the next 12 months versus keeping it in a money market fund that would return, not even $5,000, just because money market rates have really hit the ground. So that's kind of the long and short of the concept of what we're trying to present to you today. If you look at the portfolio itself, the natural question would be, wow, okay, how do we get so much more interest income? Even though 0.40% is not that much, it's a lot more than what the money market is paying. How are you able to do that? This portfolio that we have here is actually ultra conservative and very, very short term. You can see the credit ratings on these fixed income instruments are commensurate with what is currently in Michigan Class, that being AAA rated securities of, the highest credit quality that you can possibly have. If you look at the effective maturity, it's still very short, just over 2 years. And if you look at the portfolio breakdown, you can see that, about 40% of the portfolio, and this is just a sample, those securities mature within 12 months. So it is ultra short term. It is extremely safe. It is of basically the highest credit quality that you can possibly have. So it is definitely Michigan Public Act 20 compliant, which public funds must be. Morgan Stanley monitors daily monitoring of Michigan Public Act 20. If there is a violation that happens that day, we know about it exactly when it happens. And we are also monitoring the portfolio for the City of Rochester investment policy statement compliance, because there are some additional things in there as well. The annual fee totals approximately 0.15%. When you compare that to Michigan Class at 0.13%, it's a little bit higher, but you're getting significantly more overall yield. Let me pause there for a second and just see if there are any questions.
Council, any questions? No. All right, no, keep going, Jessica.
Perfect. A big question that a lot of municipalities who use this strategy will ask is they say, money market funds are super safe. They have daily liquidity. What's the opportunity that we could lose money? And this is Sage Advisory's track record for this same portfolio over all rolling 1 year time periods. You can see here is 0. Because the portfolio is ultra safe and ultra short term, it has actually never posted a negative rolling 1 year since its inception. So it's extraordinarily, extraordinarily safe. So this is basically the conclusion, would be really 3 things. The first 2 things is retaining Morgan Stanley as investment consultant. That cost would be 0.05%. We would be a fiduciary to these assets. We would be responsible legally for daily monitoring for Michigan Public Act 20 and keeping compliance with the City of Rochester's IPS. We would also be monitoring Sage Advisory to make sure they, stay the best fit. Morgan Stanley also would continue ongoing reporting to the finance director, to Anthony, and to city council, of course, as often as you need it. I believe you require quarterly reports, which is no problem. Sage Advisory would be the investment manager. Their fee schedule is below. And Sage would serve as a fiduciary responsible for the investment management of public fund assets on a fully discretionary basis. So this is very similar to the way the money market fund is operating now. And lastly, the three benefits to the city. I mean, conceptually, it's pretty simple. One, obtaining fiduciary coverage for the city to the greatest extent allowable by law. You're getting multiple layers of fiduciary protections on these funds, significantly higher interest income on a net of fee basis, going from $65,000 to $70,000 per year in interest income for an ultra safe, ultra short portfolio versus, $5,000 just in money market is a sizable difference, and over time can really amount to a lot of money. And there are very flexible liquidity provisions. So it's not like any money you invest with Sage is going to be locked up, under lock and key for 10 years or 5 years or anything like that. If the city needs money for any of these projects or any unexpected needs whatsoever, the city always has access to those funds virtually at any time. The only ask that Sage has is they want to make sure that any investments that you make with them truly are for projects where you don't need cash for the next 12 months. So let me stop there and see if there are any questions.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I think this was really helpful, and thank you for coming to our budgeting committee about a month ago. We appreciate your time in the presentation. My question is for Anthony or Marcy. I'm wondering, how much are you suggesting that we invest into this plan, and where does that leave our general fund? I know that there's a certain percentage that we have to maintain in that fund. Where would that put us?
Anthony?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the investments, if we look at the year and the cash flow, at kind of the lowest spot in the year, we're at about 24 million in assets. That's all the different fund balances combined together: water fund, sewer fund, all of them. So when we ran the analysis, really said, okay, well, we start collecting taxes right away in July. Water and sewer fund has the irrigation billing that comes up. So we start getting hit heavy in cash right in that July, August, September timeframe. So on that 24 million, we said, hey, we could probably do about 17.5 million, and that'd still leave us plenty of liquidity left to operate. When we talked in the subcommittee, we said, maybe we just kind of cap it maybe at about 16 million or so, maybe on the top end. And the way I'm looking at this to roll this out is really to be an investment option, depending on what's available in the market. So on the initial amount, because there's I still have CDs that are extending out through August next year. It'd probably be about 10 million to start, but it's really going to be on a case by case. If I have opportunities come up that are working out better, I might take it out and put it into those. So it's really meant as just another option. Say, you know what? There's just nothing good right now. I have a CD that came up. I got $2 million. Nobody's paying anything worth anything. This is going to be a much better place to have the funds sit for the next 12 to 18 months. When we ran the 12-month and less, just looking at what we need operationally for the budget for cash flow for the year, this didn't pan out. It didn't make any sense. What I can manage on my own and what is available is better off to keep managing that. So this is really that longer than 12 months. Thankfully, with the multi-year budget, we have a real good sense on how much we need and when. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it and looking at structuring it. we still have more than enough at any point, at least, essentially half a year of general fund money that would still be available and not locked up in the long term, but we're pretty covered on that extent. And then the second part is the investments, and just for fun, I sent one of the ones that we try to get sold, but we get basically the treasurers get told, hey, we have this great offering here, this great bond security purchase. Look at this step up every couple. Oh, this is a great purchase. You should buy some of that. And we get a lot of salesmanship. And so for fun, I was like, you know what? I'm going to see what Jessica can see behind the scenes on this QSIP. Let her take a look and see what this, this great deal is that they want us to buy. And Jessica, I'd love to, if you wouldn't mind sharing that.
Jessica?
She's on mute.
What's that? I'm sorry, you kind of broke up like just at the end there.
Oh, just if you could kind of give your opinion on what some of the sales ones that I sent you was, what you found out.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically it was a step-up coupon bond. I think the person, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they just didn't understand what they were presenting to you, frankly, because if they did, that would probably be even worse. But basically, when you actually look under the hood and get a feel for the pricing of these bonds, the way it breaks down, just to kind of give you the high level, there were actually negative yields in the bonds. So if those bonds were called early, it could have resulted in negative returns for the city. And we also kind of calculated it back and identified potentially an $8,000 to $9,000 commission that the financial advisor would have been paid to sell that bond at the price that they were offering it to the city, because it was overpriced by like massive margins. So, to pay somebody just massive commissions for a bond that could actually lose you money without that person really disclosing it or understanding that was really is just not exactly what you want to see from someone who is supposed to be helping you manage your cash.
Thank you,
And
Councilman.
that's the beauty of this is that we're getting that management, and it's knocking the sales commission side out, and it's really good fiduciary responsibility and making sure that they have access to things that I can't get anyways, and they're doing that role. So it's a great partnership on it.
Councilmember Albrecht.
I'm going to defer to the Mayor Pro Tem, who's our financial expert here, but when I heard that story, I think about when I ran 401k plans. Everybody we have to file 5500s for our companies and then once those get released, everybody's calling saying, oh, we've got a great plan for you, great plan for you, great plan for you. And in the end, the fiduciary aspect of this is what's critically important. So the fact that, Anthony in his day job has a lot to do, having people like Morgan Stanley out there looking for deals like this is what's critically important for us. And he doesn't need to have 14 calls of people like this bonds guy or whatever it was coming at him. So I'm supportive of the work that Morgan Stanley has done on this.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jessica and Dan from Sage. Sorry about that. Your presentation was excellent, right on point, very detailed, very easy to understand. In the Budget Committee meeting, I did geek out a bit on this. This is my field. I love the details. I wanted to know how the bonds were traded. I wanted to know what criteria. But at a very high level, this is just a great move for the city. Making more money, taking the same amount of risk. adding that layer of fiduciary, adding that layer of compliance, checking to Public Act 20 is excellent for the city. It's excellent for the residents. You know, I feel for the finance director getting those phone calls where you're not trained, you're not licensed to evaluate these bonds. And so that's why we really need this partner. And so Morgan Stanley, Jessica, your team, you guys have done a great job with what you've done so far with the pension funds, the cemetery funds, and partnering with the city to help us with this in, let's talk about interest rates. In a zero interest rate environment is very challenging, and it's only going to get more challenging as interest rates eventually go up. And as they go up, that's when bond prices fall. So you need a manager who's working this for you. So again, this is a great time to do this. We also did talk at the budget committee meeting about the fact that this may not be the permanent solution for the next 20 years, but as interest rates change, Jessica is going to be out there looking for what's the next best manager, who should we be thinking about now, and partnering and working with Finance Director Maggio. So again, an opportunity to make more money on our safe funds for the taxpayers is always good. It should be clear also that the rates that we're talking about are today's rates. They are not guaranteed rates. As interest rates go up, we of course hope they go up, but interest rates might go down slightly, so this is not a guaranteed rate, but it's the rates as of current. I think those were all of my points. Again, it's a great move. The other point I had is all of our forecasts on interest rates are in line with what Morgan Stanley is forecasting. And so it will be a number of years before money market rates get back to where any of us as savers would like to have them. So I would make a motion to retain Morgan Stanley as investment consultant, retain Sage Advisory as investment manager, and I will add to that motion that there is a council member with the last name Sage, and he is not related to Sage. And the last name Salvia does mean sage, and I am not related as well. Thank you.
Support.
Wow. Motion by the Mayor Pro Tem, support by Councilmember Peterson. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I too have worked with Morgan Stanley on the OPEB board and am very comfortable in the direction they're proposing here. What I'm unclear of, and maybe Anthony can clarify, what amount of funds are we devoting to this investment opportunity? I guess that's the clarification I need just based on the explanation I heard.
Anthony?
Absolutely. Right now, we're looking at an initial investment of $10 million, and the rest is kind of spaced out on timing based on when the other investments come to maturity.
Thank you.
Further comments?
Just one.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, Mayor, would we need to make that part of the motion so we know what we're initially investing?
We can make that revision to the motion. I think, Finance Director, we talked about kind of like a not to exceed 17.5 million, but to give you flexibility up to that amount. So maybe we say an initial investment of 10 million. Anthony, I don't see you nodding.
Is that good, Anthony?
Yeah, yes, I'm good with it. The only thing I'd ask is, as we're going along, as things come due, I want to still be able to find opportunities that, talking with Jessica, maybe it makes sense to go on our own. So I would just ask that it's an option. I'm great with it, having a not to exceed, and those sort of things, but I wouldn't want to lock in 10 million and then I find something and go, well, I'd really like to pull 3 million out, but I got to come back to council because we locked in a set amount of money. That's all.
Okay, so we won't amend the motion.
Correct.
Okay.
That's fine. That's why I asked. I wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? I would just like to say I'm on the OPEB board as well, and Morgan Stanley's done a fantastic job. I feel very comfortable with them. And this is very safe investments that go by the law, what we have to do, so I'm very comfortable. So, Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Sage?
Yes.
Thank you, Jessica. We'll see you Wednesday, I think, at the OPEB
We'll see you
meeting.
Wednesday. Thank you so much, Mayor.
And maybe a suggestion is that Morgan Stanley put you in a nicer hotel that has better
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Thank you.
But well taken.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, next is a consideration of a quarterly report ending September 30th, 2021. Anthony? Got a big night.
Thank you, Mayor.
Got a big night tonight, Anthony.
Oh, I know, right? We're just knocking one off, one after the next here. Brian, can I get screen sharing? I'm going to pull up the package just to walk through real quick. So this is, we are in our fiscal year 22, so June 30, 22 is going to be the ending. Thank you. This one. Before you have our first quarter on the report. In the usual format, I've included, and if it's not visible or you need me to zoom in or change, just let me know.
You're good.
As of the end of the 9:30 quarter, this is the end of the week here at 10:02. With everything to date, we have a negative impact from COVID on all the different breakdown and costs, whether it's remote needs, cleaning, emergency management, parking fund, big key part of that number. We're now at negative 194. The reason this dropped down significantly from the July number was because we have received the first half on the American Rescue Plan, and that was $695,837. So between CARES Act, grants I've applied for, and those, we are at a 1.791 received so far. There are still well over $100,000 in process grants that I have started, and it's either not ready to turn it in yet because the date isn't up, but it's in the queue. I'm expecting to get eligibility for some more grants as we get ongoing. Pull them down here. This is just a breakout of how the funds go, as usual, so we can see where the funds and monies are aligned. And then the ask tonight, there's no glaring big budget ask to say, hey, we're out of line, right? I mean, we're just in the first quarter. There's a lot of the year left. Most of the changes and discrepancies are revolving around timing. We don't get money every single month. We get a big chunk. Expenses are not, monthly. Sometimes they're cyclical. So nothing's out of the ordinary at this point. The one request tonight that we've discussed in the past is we had an initial recommendation back in the spring, summertime when we had the American Rescue Plan was being developed and then signed into law of having $800,000 transferred to the parking fund. This initial amount, the first half, is $695,837. So that's what the request is to have that $695,837 transferred over to the parking fund. We will get more into the parking fund. We just had the meeting this past week. We're not going to be presenting that tonight, but it will be at, I defer to Manager Wing. Was it the first November meeting?
Yeah, November 8th.
November 8th, okay. To discuss further about the parking fund. So with that, that's kind of the big summary. I'm happy to answer questions on anything that council has, and I'll stop the sharing right now.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you, Anthony. Quick question. I wanted to kind of continue to kind of pick on parking a little bit here. So page 54, where we've got the performance indicators, actual versus budget. We've got the parking system budgeted at $1,348,000, and for the first quarter we had $367,000 year to date. So $367,000, we're at 27%. So in terms of revenues, money coming into the parking fund system for the first quarter, am I reading that correctly, that we're on track? We're kind of slightly above?
Well, in our PAC meeting, and sorry to jump in, I think we thought we were down 10%.
Right.
And that's,
Exactly, yep. I'm gonna bring up, let me share this page here. It's gonna be page
so
10. Here's what we're gonna look at.
and we'll talk about this a little bit, the parking report, but it's come all the way back to 10% down, but it's kind of stopped at 10% down.
Okay, because my question was, the budget number's $1.3 million, and we've always kind of said the parking system's $1.5 million, plus we have to fund new meters. So I thought the $1.3 million was the bare bones budget. So we might be tracking to the bare bones budget of the $1.3 million, but we're going to need more money.
And this, the 27% you see here, these are the expenditures. This is strictly just the expense, how it's running. And then if we go down a few pages here, we'll get to where we are on the budget side. And we are currently tracking 10% down. It's flattened. So for the last 5 months, if we look at it by month, it bounces between a little over 9 to a little under 11. It's right at like 10.1%. And it's been flat. It has not changed and deviated outside of that. So when we look at the revenues in the budget, the top lines, we were at about a break even. So that 10% basically puts that 1.3 in the hole, right? So about we're eating about 130,000 a year, and that's a little bit more evident on the fund balance page here.
Right.
So when we look at this bottom line here, this is the parking fund. And then we scroll over here and we have the each year as we go out, we see that we're starting from the June 2021. So this is the unaudited fund balance from June 30th this year at 296,000, then dropping down to 47, then dropping down to 113, and et cetera, et cetera. So this initial transfer is going to help right size back to both the fund balance minimum, and then there will be some other discussions about the parking meters and that will go into more detail at the November's meeting, if that helps kind of clarify where that's going.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any further questions for Anthony? Councilmember Peterson?
No, I just want to thank you again for this report and for staying on top of that and giving us the options that are necessary to keep this in line. So thank you.
Mr. City Manager, do we need a motion on this?
Yeah.
We do need a motion to accept the quarterly report and the recommendation.
I'll make the motion to accept the quarterly report and with the recommendation of using that, the funding to go towards the parking fund.
Support.
Motion by Councilmember Peterson, support by Councilmember Sage. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dixon.
Yes.
Salvia.
Yes?
Albrecht.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Council.
Next, we have a discussion of mayoral appointment to the City Beautiful Commission. I would like to appoint Marilyn Trent to the City Beautiful Commission. Now, because we can vote on that to approve her tonight, or we can wait 2 weeks to consider it at the council, so it's up to the pleasure of the council.
Would that put her in place for the next meeting?
Yes, if we did that tonight.
Let's vote.
Motion to accept.
Okay, motion to accept and tonight?
Yes, tonight, yes. tonight.
Support? Okay, motion by Councilmember Peterson, support by Councilmember Harrison, who is on that committee. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dixon.
Yes.
Salvia.
Yes?
Albrecht.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Okay, and then also tonight, I kind of off script here. There's a nomination for the DDA board, Roger Knapp, who some of us in town knows. I thought it was sent to all of us. It was just sent to me. So I would like to nominate Roger Knapp to the DDA board, but then have city clerk send the information to all the council people and then vote on it in 2 weeks, so everybody has a chance to see it.
Good.
Roger Knapp is a longtime business owner, was on the city council, and really wants to get back involved, and has moved back into town and things, so that'll, Madam Clerk, you'll send that out, please?
I
Thank
will.
you. Thank you. And then next we have a discussion of city council nomination, appointment of the library board, same thing, we could do a nomination tonight and vote on somebody, or we could do 2 weeks. So Councilmember Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a recommendation for a nomination and a vote for tonight, because I know that the library has some board meetings coming up that they would like a liaison to be able to attend. I was really excited to see the enthusiasm around this position. We had 2 applications, and Ayanna has big shoes to fill. She made a big impact on the library and our community. She did come, Ayanna left with a recommendation, which I agree with, of Alice Moo. Alice is a library user. She's also a working mother, so I feel that her experiences will help round out the current library board to add diverse experiences and backgrounds to that position. I also feel like she'll give excellent reports and communication to our city council here. Jessica is also an excellent choice, but I saw that she had interest in other boards and commissions, and I'd hope that we could find a seat for her somewhere else. So I'd like to nominate Alice Moo to the liaison board position for the Rochester Hills Public Library.
Support.
So motion by Councilmember Harrison, is that for the vote tonight to see?
A nomination and a vote, please.
So motion by Councilmember Harrison, support by Councilmember Peterson. Further discussion or nomination? Councilmember Albrecht.
Just a discussion on the process. These are 2 outstanding candidates, and, when I looked at the backgrounds of both of them, it was like, a coin toss, and I, speaking to, looking at the recommendation of Ayanna, meant a lot with, I guess it goes by Alice Moo instead of Ishan Alice Moo.
She's Alice.
So, however, in terms of the process, whoever gets nominated first, we vote on, and then the second candidate, assuming the first one gets approved, which I support, Alice Moo, the second one then never gets looked at. And I just want to, I talked to the city manager about this, if that's something we can look at going forward, where if we do have equal candidates, where we could vote on either Alice or Jessica. I will support Alice in terms of this position, and I concur with Councilmember Harrison, the fact that Alice put library board liaison as her first choice, and then Jessica put, you guys know I print everything, so I kind of put the zoning board of appeals as a second choice, board of ethics as a third choice. We've had such a tough time getting volunteers. I don't want to discourage people who apply because of our process to not be able to at least get their, a vote on them. So we're not going to vote on Jessica because my assumption is that Alice will be approved. But I'd like to look at that process going forward if we could maybe, I don't know if that's the city manager working with the city attorney or the mayor, so that in the future, if we have equal candidates, we can as a council vote candidate A, candidate B, and the one with the most votes wins, much like how we are elected to council. So.
And certainly we can look at that. I mean, somebody else could have nominated the other person, and then we would have voted on the first one and then voted on the second one.
But the first one, what I've seen in my 2 years here is that the first one gets nominated and then you never get to the second one. And that's my assumption with what'll happen tonight. And again, both candidates are outstanding, and I would support Alice. If Jessica had been nominated first, I would support her. So I just think the process needs to be looked at.
Very good. Councilmember Harrison?
I agree with Councilmember Albrecht completely, and I wonder if, Leanne, there's a way that we can reach out to Jessica when, I'm sure you follow up with her and you let her know that she wasn't selected, after she went through this application process. If there's another open seat we have, maybe we could point her in that direction and encourage her to fill that seat, because I get the sense that she wants to be more involved, and I think she'd be wonderful on a number of our boards and commissions.
Okay.
Very good. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Madam Clerk, I think I remember we still have a position on Board of Ethics available. How about
Yep.
ZBA? I don't remember.
ZBA has the two alternates open, so
Okay.
I'll
So
forward
both
her
boards are-
application on to Nick tomorrow and have him take a look at it.
Great.
And give you a answer from Nick.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have a discussion on health, stop-loss, dental, vision, life, disability insurance, and recommendations to opt out of Public Act 152. And I am going to preempt the city manager just for 1 minute and say that we are not recommending any change in our current Blue Cross plan for our employees. So just so anybody in the audience and any of our employees are listening, they know that up front. Mr. City Manager.
Yep, as the mayor just stated, my recommendation is to stay with Blue Cross. I'll go into, as he also noted, we are looking at in addition to health insurance, there's the stop-loss, dental, vision, life, disability insurance, as well as, again, the discussion of opting out of Public Act 152. I do see our consultant from Mankin Vance is also on the call, so he's going to be available to answer some questions. So let me just kind of hit the highlights, and then we can get into a discussion. So Mankin Vance goes out for our annual process for health insurance. Again, this year they looked at Blue Cross as well for renewal, as well as other options. The other ones that came in that were also under our current plan year was through the consortium, and there actually were two options through the consortium this time of an addition of HAP, and then previously, and they still have this year with Aetna. Overall, my recommendation for the renewal is with Blue Cross for our full-time active employees, the pre-65 retirees, as well as our post-65 retirees. I will touch upon a little bit on the Affordable Care Act and the 5 part-time employees, which happen to all be in our fire department as well. But that is my recommendation, that we'd actually be offering them the same plan with Blue Cross, however, with a few other caveats that I'll note in a moment. In addition, with our renewal, I'm recommending that we stay with the stop-loss through the consortium. Again, through the slides that I'll go through in a moment. Blue Cross has a higher cost. Again, we did look at them being the stop-loss, but through the consortium for just a minor increase of about $13,000 compared to 50-some thousand for Blue Cross for the same level of stop-loss at $125,000. So overall, our analysis was looking at the beginning of this plan year, which started on December 1st of 2020. We started off not having a lot of high utilization. However, over the last few months, we have ramped up. And I will note that this year, we've actually had 2 employees that did hit our stop loss at 125. So again, in a normal 5 to 6 year cycle, that does happen with diseases and illness and whatnot. It's good that we have stop loss. I know other communities that choose to self-insure and do not have stop loss. For us, just as a reminder, stop loss insurance is so that we actually have a cap, and instead of having bills just keep on going up 300, 400, ours actually cap at the 125. I did have our consultants run analysis to see if 100 or 150 actually would make sense for us. Again, that will be hit here in the slides in a moment. The sweet spot for us continues to be at the 125. We would have actually paid more money to get it lowered, or it still wouldn't have hit that, and we wouldn't have had enough savings if we would have gone up. So the 125 is still our recommendation going forward from both the consultant and myself. I'm also recommending, and again, we're tied in with our contracts for the cost sharing component at 95% with the city paying the cost and the employees paying the 5%. And again, just a reminder that went into place with our employees on the December 1st in 2019, that plan year that started then, in addition with our non-union employees. My recommendation for staying is also due to the fact that we're still in a COVID environment. It's difficult to be finding doctors making changes, and that does have an impact for me, and I did hear that from our union employees when I did meet with their representatives. In addition, COVID did impact our fire department as we were not able to have enough candidates apply for various positions. And so we did have 5 part-time employees that did work more hours than we had anticipated. The Affordable Care Act has a threshold, if I'm remembering correctly, it's 1,560 hours. And so we did have 5 employees that did go over that hourly threshold. So if we have so many employees, our threshold happens to be 3, we are required through the Affordable Care Act to offer them health insurance. In addition, my recommendation, other than to offer them health insurance, is to do something similar with our other active employees, full-time employees actually have, which is an opt-out. And so tonight I'm recommending that we do offer the 5 part-time eligible employees that are in the fire department to be on the same health insurance if they so choose, but we would not be offering them the healthcare savings amount contribution that we do, and we're not required under the Affordable Care Act to offer them that. We'd be offering the health insurance without the HSA contribution, or the employees could choose to opt out, and then they would be offered a $3,000 opt-out that would be paid $250 per month. And so some of those employees, again, they're required, because they're not in the past been on our health insurance. They're required to have health insurance already. So these employees may choose very quickly to just choose the opt-out money and get that added onto their salary, or they could choose during our open enrollment period to select our health insurance. If they happen to have a spouse or family members, they would be on the health insurance, but they would be paying 100% for that spouse or any family members. Beyond that, again, I listed a little bit more details in the option or alternative. Really, the alternative, I think everybody, the council members are at least familiar, that we've looked at the consortium, and I do feel for this year, due to the COVID components, and council may have recalled in the past, I've talked about a threshold of, if it needs to kind of pass my smell test of $50,000 or more. When I actually look at Blue Cross's numbers and our consultant numbers, and then seeing our planned trend right now, and I'll get into this in the slides here in a moment, I feel we're probably right at that 50,000, and so that's another reason why I'm recommending that we stay with Blue Cross. With the Blue Cross numbers and the consortium on the active employees being about $100,000 apart, again, we'll pay actuals. So with Blue Cross, if those numbers come down, we would not have that much of a delta between that and the numbers from the consortium. The consortium number would be lower because that's the top, and then they would, over the next 3 years, charge us to make up. However, on Blue Cross, the same thing. If the numbers go higher, we'd still get billed. However, they have, it's just that first year. So my, I guess, take on the trend as we're continuing to go up is we're actually going to be right in the middle between which is not unusual, from our consultants to Blue Cross's numbers. So if I were to put my little finger, I guess, or my 2 cents on it, it would be right in the middle, and that's right around the 50,000. Overall, besides the health insurance, since Public Act 152 went into effect, the city has continually opted out, and I still believe, and I know previous councils and previous city manager also felt this way, that the city is in a better position to look at health insurance and to set it. And so instead of just going with the standard 80-20 rule, and that's the 80% that the cities would pay, or on the flip side, the 20% that employees, that we're able to work with the unions, and what we've agreed upon is the city currently paying 95% and the employees paying the 5%. And that's in our current collective bargaining agreements for a few more years. All in all, we also looked at vision, dental, life, short-term and long-term disabilities, and really with our stop loss, like I said, that had a slight increase with our renewal versus a larger increase if we went to Blue Cross. The renewal for our vision has an increase of a little over $1,000, so it's $1,189. Dental actually had no increase for 1 year. Our basic life had a slight increase of just under $1,600. Short-term disability had no increase. Long-term disability had a slight increase at $259. Let me walk through, if Brian, if you could help me out with our packet. I believe it starts on page 75 or 76.
Okay, let me pull it up.
Thank you. I guess if there's questions while Brian's pulling that up.
Questions, anybody?
If not, I'll just.
Councilmember Sage?
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead and go through.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just a few slides, so it'll just take a moment. I know as Brian's pulling that up, again, as we are in a hybrid environment, again, we need to have so that the Zoom and for everybody else that we actually have to have Brian actually control the presentations. That's why I just can't quickly do this, or if I was up at the podium. So similar to any of the other presentations. All right, if you can go to. If you can go to the next one, I believe where it's going to be, yep, there you go, and then we can actually move on to the next one. In our packet on page 76, what this slide, and I don't know, Brian, if you can zoom in anymore. Basically, this is the breakdown of our active employees, along with our retirees and a few of the details. Again, if anybody's following along, that's on page 76 of our packet. Really, it's our census is really what that is. Brian, if you can move on to the next page. This one's kind of really the meat and the potatoes, if you will. This shows on the far left-hand column our current plan year with Blue Cross. For our active employees, we're estimating it to be just under $1 million with the estimate. Blue Cross's renewal is about a 10% decrease for our active employees, so they're estimating at $890,000 and change. So if we were to take a ballpark number around $900,000, that's about $100,000 less than our current plan year. And we move over to the next column, that is through the consortium, which is the Jefferson Health Plan, and that particular option is through HAP, and that one is estimated at $783 and change. So there's about a $200,000 difference between our current with Blue Cross and that one. And then over to Aetna, it's a little less of a savings than the HAP, $790, so it's just under $200 on that one. Again, we'll highlight the Blue Cross if our numbers come in lower, so instead of just paying, let's say, $90-some thousand, $92,000 a month, we'll look at our actual claims and be paying that out. So if it was 85, we would have a monthly cost there. So Blue Cross's numbers, if they overestimated, could come in, a little bit lower. This is a first, actually, I think, since I've been here, that we've had both Blue Cross and the alternative also have reduced numbers. So it's kind of nice when we have a Blue Cross number, going down almost 10%, and the other one's a little bit more than that. When we move on from the active employees, full-time employees, down to the pre-65, there is a similar findings here. Currently with Blue Cross, we've estimated, or their numbers estimated at 471 and change, about a 9% decrease with Blue Cross's renewal down to 430. And then if we go over to the two consortium ones, again, a slight decrease, the difference there. So overall, again, and then we have our post-65, which are in our Medicare Advantage numbers, and similar numbers in that regard. Brian, if you can move on to the next. So this gets in a little bit more of the actual details of our administrative fees with the renewal. And again, just some slight increases per contract. The overall renewal administration fee has an overall total of $580 more. And again, when we looked at the stop loss, a renewal through the consortium, which is the 13,935, so just under 14,000. And then Brian, if you go to the next page, we actually have a comparison between the different options along with the Blue Cross numbers. So we have our current one with through the consortium for our stop loss. Then we have the renewal, which is again just under 14,000. And again, as I noted before, we looked at numbers. You'll see up in the top right-hand corner. There's we looked at 100,000, and then we also look at the 150 for the stop loss. And again, those differences in cost. Below that, we also have the Blue Cross. Again, the reason why I'm recommending staying with our renewal with the consortium, 13 and change, almost 14,000 versus almost 54,000 if we went to Blue Cross. Brian, on the next. We move on to our vision. Again, a slight increase of just under $1,200. Again, moving from a large costing item of health insurance to vision insurance. Again, our overall cost is not large, but moving from just about $4,000 to 51 and change. Again, a $1,200 cost difference there. And Brian, if you can go to the next page. We look at our life insurance, and again, a slight increase, just under $1,600 for, and this one actually is for a 2-year renewal. Again, when we looked at other options, they were much higher. So when we're looking at things that are less than $2,000 in difference, the renewal makes sense with the same company. I will note, again, we've packaged through Sun Life, so if we do break things off, that does have an increase in cost, and we are also saving through the online portal for our employees. Instead of us actually paying about $20,000 through the package, we have enough items bundled with Sun Life that we do actually get that at no cost. Brian, if you can move on to the next. Our short-term disability, that one, we can go really quick, a 0% increase for 1 year. That was on the short term. And then if we go to the long term, there was just a slight increase on that one, and that was the $259 for a 1 year cost difference there. And I think that's about it. Mark, I don't know, as our consultant, if there was anything you wanted to add?
Welcome, Mark.
Brian, you might need to stop sharing, and then Mark, you're probably going to have to unmute.
Or maybe Mark's all good, right?
Yeah. Just from my experience with Zoom, there he is.
All right, Mark.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome, everybody. I'll get my video back on too. So, everybody. Yeah, the only thing I'll add is on the Sun Life side, as Wayne said, it's a bundled program, and we received those proposals about 2 years ago. So we'll reassess next year the bundle in total. But we saved money back then, and the total increase this year for the Sun Life products that the city pays for is about 5.5%. So again, it's an increase. It's within the realm of a normal range of increases for ancillary benefits like short-term disability and life. But we do know that in this marketplace, we do need to go out to market every couple of years. We don't go to market every year. Most vendors, they keep record of, how often groups will go out to bid. So when we get a 2-year guarantee on certain programs, we like to stick to that 2-year program, even if there's one piece of it that might go up during that time period, like the vision did this year. So, but next year we'll look at the bundle in total and make sure that we're getting the right pricing for these ancillary benefits.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions from the council? Councilmember Albrecht.
Councilmember Sage had his hand up earlier.
Councilmember Sage.
I just had a quick one for Blaine.
Sure.
I'm assuming we would need two motions here, one for coverage to the employees and then one for opting out of Public Act 152.
I think, unless the attorneys tells me otherwise, I think if you put it all in one, actually on page 73, I know it's a very long verbose one. I mean, there would be nothing that you couldn't do it in two. But I do have it, I guess, recommended in one large one, but you could break it up in two. I don't think there's a problem.
Just a question.
Yep.
There's no difference. Councilmember Albrecht.
Okay, just like Mayor Pro Tem Salvia likes the expense side, I love this one. So I had a conversation with City Manager Wing on this earlier today. And I just wanted to remind you, last year, we had a lot of discussion on the consortium. At that time, it presented some savings for us, and it was a great idea, but not a good year to do it with the pandemic and the changes. And we heard our city employees, and we listened, and we made the right decision. When I look at the numbers, the consortium savings are 20% versus Blue Cross Blue Shield 10%, rough numbers. I'm surprised that Blue Cross Blue Shield came in as a savings, which rarely happens. So again, I would say this year that I agree with City Manager Wing that while the consortium would deliver basically 2 times the amount of savings, 20% versus 10%, it's still not a good year to make a change like that with the reasons that City Manager Wing talked about, switching doctors, all those other kinds of things. That being said, I would hope that Mark and Mankin Vance will come back to us next year with these same sets of numbers, and then we look at it a little more aggressively as an option next year. If we are going to do that, I would suggest we reach out to our employees earlier in the year to educate them, so we don't have, so we have that. Because if I'm sitting here and was a betting man, which I don't bet, I would think that next year the Blue Cross Blue Shield will be an increase, not a savings. That rarely happens 2 years in a row. Again, I can be surprised. On stop loss, City Manager Wing did what I would have done. With your stop loss, you can go up or go down. You raise it to save money. You lower it to, and he gave us the examples of what would happen if we moved it up or down on one of the slides. So thank you on slide 79. So making the right decision was staying with the stop loss at 125, especially consider the fact that we had 2 employees trigger the stop loss this year. We don't know how much those expenses were, but we were capped at 125, which is always a good thing to have a stop loss protection. Finally, City Manager Wing talked about the 5 part-time employees, and he threw out a number 1560. That's anybody working on average more than 30 hours a week triggers the Affordable Care Act. Normally our full-timers are 40 hours a week. So we had those 5 employees to do that. And next year, even though we've put in 4 additional part-time employees, if we have employees that are averaging more than 30 hours a week, whether they're in the fire department or any other department, they would also need to be offered insurance. So that being said, and again, thank you, Mark, for putting this packet together. I know why you wouldn't go out to market on the Sun Life product. You'll do that next year, and we'll try to get another bundle two-year package. I would make a motion to, I can read this whole thing. I recommend that the city renew with Blue Cross Blue Shield for our health insurance with no changes to the full-time active employees, pre or pre-65 and post-65 retirees, and offer to those 5 part-time employees an opt-out worth $3,000 annually, or the same Blue Cross Blue Shield plan cost sharing, but with no HSA contribution. Going to the other coverages, the motion would include authorizing the renewal of the stop-loss insurance with JHP, the consortium, with an increase of $13,935. Vision renewal for 1 year with VSP with an $1,189 increase. Dental renewal with Sun Life for 1 year with no increase. Basic life renewal, $1,584 increase. Short-term disability with no increase. Long-term disability with a $259 increase in the attached resolution opting out of the Public Act 152, as Member Sage mentioned, should be included in this motion.
Support.
Motion by Councilmember Albrecht, support by Councilmember Peterson. Is there discussion? Councilmember Sage?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do you want to include in there the maintenance of the city paying 95% of the burden and the employees, will we continue that, the 95/5 share?
It's contractual.
It's contractual, all right.
Yeah, it's contractual. However, I mean, for our non-union employees, that, I mean, it wouldn't hurt us to say that.
Okay.
I'm fine with amending the motion as such.
The only other comment I would make, I share Councilmember Albrecht's enthusiasm for this topic. And I would hope and appreciate all the work that the consultant and the city manager have done on this. So if the renewal date is December 1st every year, let's get ahead of this a little bit more than just 30 days out, just in case we have more discussion required.
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Thank you. I do support this as presented. Just looking for some more insights as to how the costs have gone down. Those are based on our actual claims of our pool of employees, or is it based upon national averages?
City Manager?
Yep, I can, so it's not an easy answer. So with Blue Cross, it's actually ours. With the consortium, it's an actual blend. So it's 51% ours, and then in the consortium, it's the 49% of that overall pool. That pool is about 25,000 employees, which again, currently is the Michigan component as well as the Ohio component. So with what Blue Cross, both the consortium and Blue Cross look at things differently. So Blue Cross actually, and Mark, you can jump in if I'm incorrect, or I guess explain it a little bit more. Blue Cross does a window of time that they look at us. As was noted, we do have 1 month, December, that's actually normally it's in the calendar year that's behind. So Blue Cross actually includes that in their look back compared to the consortium that's actually doing a much larger window. So it might be 10 months that they're actually overall looking at. So formularically, there's differences between how Blue Cross does their calculations and how the consortium. So Blue Cross is using just our numbers. Compared to the consortium is using our numbers plus then the other 49%. Mark, I don't know if there's. No?
So a follow-on question that we're in a pandemic. Are claims down because people have delayed surgeries? Or I'm looking for some insight into this because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I can answer that. So the actual claims for the city this year were up. And so what we're looking at is a projection for next year. So as Blaine had suggested, that claims did coming out of the pandemic, and some would say we're not already completely out of the pandemic, but for the brunt of the pandemic, claims were down, and then last summer, fall, and coming into this year, claims started to go back up. So we started seeing a lot of services perform. Claims did go up for the renewal year that is in question here, which runs from December of 2020 through November of 21, which we have, as Blaine suggested, data through August when we were putting this together. So claims for the year were up, but when the renewals now are put together for Blue Cross for next year, they're expecting claims to go down because we did get an increase near the end of the halfway through last year, all the way through this year, claims were up. And now they're actually starting to look at trend leveling out. And that's what the projection is for this following year is a projection that claims will level out.
So it's kind of, I guess, up for the last couple of months, probably a plateau and potentially even a drop off as then basically for our 75 employees that are in there are now have seen their doctors and if there's not any issues and then kind of leveling off. We've typically between December and March kind of have that lull and then it starts to pick back up. So I think Blue Cross, again, whatever their calculations are seeing that, as well as the consortium is kind of seeing almost that yo-yo effect. And I think both of them are looking at a level off for this. And so instead of a higher spike that we saw during this claims year after, as it ramped up, as people were getting back to the doctors, our claims were, kind of hit that peak and now have gone down and are now leveling off.
Great news for retirees. They get a 5% pay raise on Social Security and 10% less on their health care. It's great.
It's a strange world out there, isn't it? Councilmember Albrecht, did you have any?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I'd just like to say, I think this is a good plan. We need to always be looking at it, but I think staying with Blue Cross this year makes sense. And just say the plan where I work, the costs are going up.
Mine too.
So the city's lucky this year, so we better enjoy it while we can. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate your work. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our report on various boards and commissions, a report from the Parking Advisory Committee, PAC. Mr. Sage, you want to go, or you want me to?
You
Go
can
ahead.
add what I miss. A lot of items discussed at the Park and Advisory Committee. The first was to level set our expectations on revenues. We discussed that earlier, that we've kind of leveled out at a 10% from pre-COVID, and it's stabilized there. So going forward, that'll be something to consider as we budget. As far as meter replacement, yes. So our meters are 2G. So every carrier is phasing 2G out from, there will be no replacement parts, there will be no technical support. So obviously, this is more of an important decision we're going to need to make going forward. So part of the investigation that the chief's done is switching vendors, because we can get better performance and quicker upgrades, if you will, to the system as opposed to our current system. The one they're investigating right now is also integrated with Park Mobile, so wouldn't be any disruption for the users in the system. And there's an option to either purchase or lease to own on the meters. And we're going to take a look at that. We're all going to consider that to see what's the most prudent course of action there. We did talk about a few recommendations. There wasn't much support for changing collection times from 9 to 9 to 8 to 11. There wasn't much support for charging on Sundays. There wasn't much support for increasing the parking passes from 25 to 30. There was no discussion on designating additional 15-minute spots. The two items that we do need further discussion on, and I'm sure will come before this board, lowering the park and lieu fee and changing the hourly rate to $1.25 an hour in the system. And I think we'll be able to go through the budget, that spreadsheet Marcy uses, and I think a lot of the funding issues that we're struggling with could be solved with that simple rate increase by hour. But we'll take a look at all that. So other considerations, we definitely feel a communication campaign is in order for whatever decisions we make as a board here. And new meters, if we do choose to go in that direction, are in stock and could be installed within 2 to 4 months, even through the winter. We also talked about and did decide we're going to make the recommendation to council to maintain the lot across from the elevator as a free lot. That was it. Any questions? Yes.
I do have a
Harrison?
question. Thank you, Councilmember Sage. I just want to reiterate, since you brought it up, that sticking with Park Mobile, I think is really important. It's so nice to have just one app. I hate when cities like Ferndale require their own app. I don't need an app for every city I visit, and I love being in Rochester using Park Mobile and can use the same app in Denver. Like, it's so convenient, so please, you have my support in staying with Park Mobile.
So I think, at the November 8th meeting, we're going to have a recommendation on the rates. We're going to have a recommendation on parking in lieu. We're gonna have a recommendation on, the elevator lot, and what was the?
Meters.
The actual meters.
Yeah, the actual meters. So we're gonna have another meeting before that, aren't we?
I think we're just waiting for some of the pricing that finance was working, but
But Nick was gonna have a report for us.
Correct, he had a report that he said he was gonna send to the PAC.
Right, so we will have recommendations on all those for the council to consider. They're just recommendations from the committee. But I think we made good progress at this meeting, and so I think we'll have something good to present at council. Any questions?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Thank you. So thinking about this, I was listening to some friends the other night complaining about another municipality that doesn't have parking structures, and so parking is a big problem. They're a great municipality. If I said the name, you'd say, I love that town. It's a great place, but parking is an issue for them. So it kind of thinking about this in light of our future discussion, I think it would be helpful if we had maybe from the PAC committee some goals. Like, what is the goal of our parking system? Is it break even? Is it to support development? What are the goals of the parking system so that we know, as I like to say, what problem are we trying to solve? I think that would be helpful. So
And I think the goal that right now the parking committee is looking at is that the parking system is self-sufficient. So that's what we're looking at. And really, and some of the parking in lieu was to also help drive more people to come down and park. But we want the system, when we voted on the system years ago to build these parking garages, the system was going to take care of itself. It hasn't been doing that, so we need to make changes that it's going to do that. That's right now is the goal of the parking committee, but, we're always looking for input and to be flexible. Councilmember Peterson?
Yes, Mayor. So in your discussions, have you included the parking maintenance in that goal of having that all-inclusive
Yes.
as well as self-sufficient?
Yeah,
Okay.
everything. And we know that there's lots that need to be maintained as well as the parking structures. So, okay. Next is a report from the City Beautiful Commission. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. So in the manager's report this week, you all received a rendering for a proposed mural on the GBG building, or GBB building, excuse me. We're really excited about that. I hope that you like it. If you have any concerns or questions on that rendering, please let me know so we can take that back to the committee. We're making small tweaks as a committee, but we feel like it's going in the right direction. We're really excited about it. We're also raising money to help fund this mural. We have most of it already raised and designated, but if you would like to contribute, please do. We've applied for a grant through the Community Foundation. We're going to find out if we received that grant at their tailgate party, which is November 4th. So please reach out if you have questions about making donations or if you have any concerns about the mural itself. I'd also like to personally thank all of council for appointing Marilyn Trent to the City Beautiful Commission. She's been serving as a non-member for a lot of years now and the head of the Rochester Pollinators Committee. We're excited to have her as an official member on our commission. The pollinators are always staying so busy. They just had a celebration recognizing their volunteer force. We have one wonderful volunteer, Lewis Carroll, thank you, who just graciously donated plants for the Paint Creek plant garden. And we also have plants in the ground now under the near the Atella Heart Center under the bridge. So those are in the ground and looking really great. We also have a hand-carved bench near the Lion's Den that's being restored right now. And we're also restoring benches along the river walk. And then the bathrooms in the municipal park are being closed November 1st.
Very good. Any questions? Councilmember Albrecht.
Councilmember Harrison, where'd you say that mural was? And
It is in the manager's report for, I believe it was this week.
I looked in both of them, and
I'll show you. It's pretty, pretty flowers.
Okay.
All set?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next on the report from the Paint Creek Trailway Commission, Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two items that provided some lengthy discussion. So we started our 2022 budget discussions and kind of a mini goals and objectives. So one of the things that I think we should be ahead of and aware that there will be a recommendation going forward to all the municipalities on the trail for a 1 to 2% community contribution increase over next year. So for us, that's going to be roughly $400. So hopefully that won't break our budget.
Yeah, we could probably swing that.
Okay. Secondly was, there are two grants that are out there right now that we could take advantage of as a trail commission. The first is the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation, and its charge is to increase outdoor recreational activity. So there's monies anywhere from 10 to 50,000 in grants, and one of the things identified in that is one of the things that's on the master plan for the Trailway Commission is the development of the Southeast Rochester property. Obviously, we're going to look and see. We know we've had the engineering study completed on that, and we would want to take a look at that, and it would require some negotiation with the city. I think one of the main concerns the trail had was in previous DPW administrations, there was no commitment to maintain anything that would be built at that location. So obviously that would be probably the first question that gets asked. If the trail builds it, will you maintain it? So the second was, as we all know, the bridge in our portion of the trail, bridge at mile marker 31.7, which is estimated to cost for replacement $900,000. So there's a Oakland County community grant that up to $750,000 could be allocated to a project. I don't know if they're going to put it all towards one bridge, but we might be able to get some money there. That grant is charged with trails and park improvement projects. So I think it does come with a matching amount, but it would be something that we would, Blaine, I guess I wanted to ask, is it all right if Melissa reaches out to help with the grant committee? And
Definitely.
okay, great. Thank you very much. That's it.
I have a question.
Councilmember Peterson?
Has the Paint Creek Trailways, or is it the Orion Township that has purchased the land along Orion Road going into Orion for a trailhead? There's a big area being redeveloped right now.
Oh, the junction?
No, just like this big parcel, looks like they're putting in a bunch of parking it's going to abut the trail.
Yes, the trail, that, I think it was a combination of the trail and the municipality, but it is intended for parking and access, right.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's just odd how they chose that location and like cleared all the trees to do that. It's just like really like in your face now.
what mile marker is that, Councilmember?
This is right on Orion Road, just north of Adams, on the left-hand side.
Okay, yeah.
So, it's really weird to have it cleared like that. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Next, you see a report from the Rochester Avon Recreation Authority, Councilmember Albrecht.
Yes, we welcomed a new member from the city of Rochester Hills, Emily, and we're going to spend the November meeting going about on the budget, but the preliminary discussions were that we were going to have a decent year. All the enrollments are reapproaching the pre-COVID numbers. Even our dance program, which took a huge hit several years ago when we had an exodus of instructors, we've brought in a new leader, and she's really with any dance program, you have to grow them up from young and follow them through. So she's really doing a good job with the young children and having them, go through rah-rah. There's a lot of competition with dance programs out there, especially in this area. We spent a lot of time really talking about capital improvements. There are two major things that need to happen at both the 500 building and the 480 building. Specifically, the 500 building leaks and needs a new roof. So we have put out to talk to some engineering about the roofs. From what I understand, this might be too much detail for tonight, but the roof is made up of so many different sections. So we're really going to, instead of doing one whole roof, we're going to look at, okay, roof 1 and 7 need to be fixed now because they're leaking over the dance floor and something else. So we'll have some more information on that. And the second less priority, but still a priority, is HVAC system for the 480 building. So again, those are things we're going to spend a little more time on going forward. That's it.
Very good. Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, can we get, for the next meeting, can we get numbers as far as how many people are how many new gym memberships there are, or where we're at with numbers with that?
Absolutely. We get them from each of the supervisors. City Manager Wing, I'll just send you those. There's like 4 or 5 sheets we get, so I can send you that to be included in the packet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next receive a report from the Planning Commission. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We approved the ordinance amendment to section 2306 regarding commercial and multifamily light and illumination. And we approved the ordinance amendment to section 2125 regarding fence standards, that discussion we had around the pool. We also had a lengthy discussion on proposed changes we had made or wanted to consider on planning condition to the draft of the master plan. So given that we were given over a month to actually review the document, we wanted to pass that on in kind to this board. So the recommendation is to bring it back before the council here on the 23rd of November, the day after Lanyap.
The second meeting in November.
Yeah, because it is quite a document.
It's quite a document, and the Planning Commission made a number of changes. So it's going to be different, I think.
So where will we get the latest version?
So I think.
Oh, okay.
City Manager, go ahead.
Yep, so our consultant listened to what the Planning Commission, and they promised us by this Friday, they'll actually have that put together. Santa will get that to me, and then hopefully this Friday we'll have it out in the packet. If they happen to get it done earlier, we'll get it to you guys so you have it, so if it's not done and completed by Wednesday, I'll make sure you guys have it as soon as we can get it out.
So then at that meeting, the city council, if so chooses, will accept to send it out to people. Then there'll be 63 days, then it will go back to the Planning Commission, and then back to City Council for final approval. So that's the process, so. But Planning Commission took a deep dive into it, I would say.
And I think some of the changes were positive in that it is a planning document, and where we could revise some of the wording to where they weren't as actionable, like create this or that, it was consider
this.
These, right, so that no one interprets the document then as something to say, well, you have to do that. No shalls in there and et cetera.
Councilmember Peterson?
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah, because there was I would say there was a number of things that seemed pretty far out there, that said we shall do something, and we were like, no, I think we should say in there that we should consider it or take a look at it, and so we kind of brought it, I think, into the mainstream a little more. Is that possible? Right? Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, so I guess in regards to grants, though, you do have to have them in the master plan to be able to work with. So on some of these things in there, as long as we are stating those that we do want to foresee happen in the future, that they are stated as something we are going to do? I mean, has that been suggested?
Well, I was just going to say, in the city council, you and everybody here is going to have multiple chances for your input in things going forward. So it was just, the planning commission looked at it and made the changes they wanted. Now it's going to come here, and then it will go out for 63 days for other comments and changes, and then come back again here the second time.
Okay, because in reference to the plan earlier with the butterfly garden and everything, if that's not in there for that grand plan for that, then we can't really go after it for certain grants.
Yeah, my understanding that one's actually, and Nick, maybe you might know, I think it's in the Parks Master Plan.
Yeah.
As long as it's written,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine, okay.
Yeah, and I want to say that most changes are like in housing and density and
Okay.
some stuff like that, more.
Tiny house nation.
I think, I'm going to guess that tiny houses maybe didn't make the cut. But we shall see.
Yep. And we'll
Next-
get that as soon as we have that from the
Right.
consultant, we'll get that out to everybody, the update.
Next, a report from the Rochester Historical Commission, Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We look forward to Lynn Anderson, who administers the Historical Plaque Program, working with our new communications representative here at City Administration, Ms. Laura Kavanaugh. We're going to need some help with a copy for the newsletter, the winter newsletter, as well as something we might be able to provide local newspapers to announce the program.
Good. Okay, next on to new business for referral and miscellaneous. Public comment, Brian, anything tonight?
I am not seeing any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being here tonight, Brian.
Absolutely.
The next, receipt of the check register report and the city manager update. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, so for the check register, there was 4, October 14th, 15th, 20th, and 21st. For the manager's update, at the beginning of each month, I've been talking about the construction update, so I met with the seal today, and so for our November 8th meeting, I'll be bringing a seal back with me, and we'll go through the various projects as we are nearing the end of this season. So typically asphalt and the cement mix are wrapping up around November 15th, so around the 8th, we'll be able to provide updates on our current projects. Other than that, want to just highlight that our leaf season did begin, and we have an updated, it's daily updated, Monday through Friday, and then it kind of highlights at the end of Friday what the weekend is going to be looking like. The leaves haven't actually dropped as they have in the past, so it's been wet. We'll see if the rain and some of the cold weather, I was going to say, changes that. So, yep. So, yeah, and then some frost and a few other things probably within the next day or two, we'll actually see a big drop. So, again, please reference on our website, and we'll have the banner on the main page of the website actually there, so people can click right on that and go to see. We have it color-coded saying what's coming up next, what's in progress, and that sort of stuff. So, other than that, that's all I have tonight.
Very good. Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, thank you. So I'm bringing this up now because construction update was not part of the manager's report. I'm very disappointed to know that we had 2 very large trees cut down on Wilcox Street, okay, and this is being directed to go back to the tree subcommittee. Since we have the tree subcommittee, I would like to have them, I think that we should have the tree subcommittee be aware of any of these projects that we are doing where we have large trees that are going to be affected, that will end up being accidentally hurt to where they have to come down. Because if you haven't seen them, those trees have been there for the 40 years that I've been here, and those sidewalks have been replaced, roads have been replaced, and we've never lost trees. And now we're losing trees. So I feel that we have the tree subcommittee for a reason. I think any projects that you're going to be tearing up streets, if there's trees involved, the tree subcommittee should be aware of it, because we're just cutting them down and we're only charging fees and fines to residential and nothing else. And I understand that it's city and we have to do certain things. However, it shouldn't be a surprise. We should know about it ahead of time instead of seeing trees being cut down And I took pictures before and after and during, and I will tell you that they were not severely injured or anything, or the roots were not cut until after they did the second stage. And I think that we should be looking at it as a city right now to make sure, because otherwise, those trees have been there a long time, and you're not going to be able to replace them now to have that same effect. So that's why we have the tree subcommittee. Either the city needs to pay a fine for allowing that to happen, and we did not do anything, or the people who are doing the construction.
We do have we're just preparing the agenda for our November meeting, so I'll make sure we have that included in there.
All right, thank you, because I know that we only focused on the residential side. We didn't focus on this other, but if we're going to be tearing up more and more streets and doing that, I think it needs to be addressed.
Very
And
good.
also, the other thing on that is, why did we redo sidewalks in certain areas here and then go ahead and tear them up to do the streets? So, there were some parts of some sidewalks that were redone to where we ended up paying again to have them redone.
Part of the agenda. are we
Yeah,
on?
I can address that. So we originally had 2 streets, and then we had a possibility of a third. Due to the school, we chose, due to the window of time, not to do that street. So Wilcox was of similar with the pipes. And so we fast-forwarded that project 2 years ahead. So different contractors, we did fix the portions of sidewalks that were on Wilcox or along Wilcox, not knowing that we were going to pull forward a project at that time. So to make it passable, and again, not knowing that we were going to be able to pull another project forward, totally different contractors, we did do that. Again, by having a multi-year plan, we're able to, in the future, not have that, plus have utilities and other things disrupt really our complete streetscape component. But there were some flags that were replaced, and again, were used and walkable. And I know we had some events, too, that did traverse some of those areas that we had replaced the sidewalk flags. But we don't typically pull forward projects, but in working with our current construction consultants on Wilcox that's doing our water, sewer, and the road, we did pull a project forward.
Was that south on Wilcox that happened?
It's in front of Second Street. Two big, large ones.
Like right by the chamber?
No, Second Street, and by the cemetery entrance, where Second Street ends at the cemetery. Mayor?
Councilmember
Okay,
Peterson.
so, and I understand and appreciate all of that. However, I feel that the city council should be made aware of these changes that take place, and we don't find out afterwards to I have to come and ask the question, because if we had to make changes to do that, it's a little more easy to swallow that the changes took place. Otherwise, we are wasting taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, that's why I actually came before council and explained that we are pulling Wilcox forward several months ago.
Seal was here.
But not in the detail of the sidewalks being replaced again, et cetera.
Oh, okay.
Well, we spent $163,000, wasn't it, on sidewalk repair?
Yes,
Okay.
and I'm not disagreeing that if I would have known that we would have been pulling that project forward, we definitely don't want to pour sidewalks down and then have them replaced when we're going through to upgrade them the whole way through. Again, we did get some use out of them. I'm not excited that we had to replace some, and then as we fast forwarded a project a couple years in advance, that there were probably a couple $1,000s that we did end up duplicating the efforts and having to remove them.
Very good. Madam Clerk, anything?
Reminder, next Tuesday is Election Day. Polls are open the same hours as always, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Polling locations are all the same. This Thursday at noon will be the public accuracy test for the voting equipment. And Saturday, City Hall will be open for anything related to elections from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Very good. I heard there was an election out there.
Yeah. I'm beginning to wonder, it's pretty quiet.
How many absentees have been returned?
As of last Friday, 664. So we had a smaller batch today, probably another 50. But that's leaving more than 1,000 that are still not turned in yet.
Oh, okay. Mr. City Attorney?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Banda, anything tonight?
All set, thank you, sir.
Okay. Councilmember Albrecht?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Okay, yes, I do have a few things. One, as we kind of get towards year end here, and I know we're coming into budget season, we had a commitment to have a fire report where we looked at staffing and certification levels. We have 4 new part-time employees, so would think that would be included in it. So just kind of want to make sure that was still on track. And then also thinking about development in the city. I don't know when was the last time we had a full development report. Maybe that's another piece coming into the budget process, what's going on with the Suave property, what's going on with the Mosheri property. I spoke with one of Atala and they've got some new tenants coming in, so just not sure where we're at with kind of overall development. I don't think council has really heard much on that in a while. We wanted to also welcome, we have a few new employees, Laura Kavanaugh, Alex Grem, and Jeremy Peckins. So happy to have some new members to the team here at City Hall, so that's great. And then lastly, just as a reminder for council that with the new 20-year community house agreement, there is a revenue portion coming back to the city. So for the next budget cycle, there is going to be a minimum of $24,000 a year. It's a percentage of revenue, so it's likely much higher than that. All of their rentals are back to like rah-rah pre-COVID levels. People are booking parties and events and all sorts of things at the community house. And then also they are also paying full utilities. So just as a reminder on some of the details of that agreement. And lastly, in the manager's packet, we were given some information about foreclosures from Oakland County. Apparently there are 13 residents in Rochester that are in that foreclosure process. So I have personally started hearing things nationally that there are more foreclosures in the pipeline than we have seen in a very long time. Which is concerning to me, and it's concerning because most of our revenues come from property taxes. So just really an awareness out there that seems to be something that is percolating. Thank you.
And on that note, there's
Councilmember Pearson.
there's 1.2 million people in forbearance and 200,000 foreclosures coming. So the numbers are very high.
Yeah, they're high in Oakland County as well. Councilmember Sage?
Well, nothing this evening, sir.
Councilmember Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm excited about the mural that's been painted in downtown Rochester. We have a reception happening, and I want to make sure that everyone is invited, including Mrs. Shepherd. It's Wednesday, October 27th at 4 p.m. So if you can be there for the unveiling, I know our mayor will speak. We'll have representatives from the DIA, the Paint Creek Center from the Arts, and the DDA. Everyone worked so hard on this project, and I'm excited to see it finished. And on the art note, there's an amazing collection at Oakland University too that I had the privilege of touring recently. It's from the president's personal collection, and she has amazing artwork in it, and she's generously shared it with Oakland University students and anyone else from the public who'd like to go in and tour. It's going on from September 10th through November 21st. So if you want to pop by, I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. And then lastly, I just wanted to offer my condolences to the Voltick family as well. It's heart-wrenching to understand that happened, and my heart really goes out to that family during this difficult time.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson?
Thank you, Mayor. And I guess on that note as well, I don't know if my kids are totally grown, but one thing that hasn't changed in the past 20-some years of taking them to and from school is the way our schools are set up for pickup and drop off and the confusion in that. And we have long lines of cars waiting out into traffic and everything at every one of our locations. I do think, because we did it in the past, we sent a resolution to Rochester Community Schools Administration and them to address some of these issues, of different issues in the past. And I think it's time that we as a council, so we can keep people safe going to and from schools, that we ask them to, maybe invest in some traffic studies and maybe reroute the way the school, children are picked up and dropped off at the schools to eliminate those long lines. And also, if somehow we can maybe get infrastructure money that was spoken of earlier too, at our schools that have the flashing lights at the crosswalks and that. I know West Middle School, crossing in the dark there from a residential neighborhood to the schools. That would be awesome for not only the crossing guard, but all the students and the people. But we really need to find a way to get them to change this. Everyone is starting to complain about the congestion. It makes people anxious. They are being very quick and hurried to do that, and I think it's going to cause more issues in the future. So I think that's something we should think about. Sending them a resolution that they consider taking some safety precautions and finding ways to improve that for all our students. And maybe have these reflective light crossings at all of them as well.
Very good. Anything further?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay. Yeah, my heart goes out to the family too. As someone who works at a high school, it's pretty crazy in the morning and the afternoon with everybody speeding to get out. So I think part of it is people would slow down and maybe get off their phones and some things like that. But so that's something that needs to be looked at. I have a couple quick things. First, Coffee with the Mayor at the OPC starts tomorrow again at 4:30. So that's been a thing that's been 2 years shut down because of COVID. So I think, again, it's a sign of things hopefully picking up. So that'll be tomorrow. And then also just wanted to say I hope everybody can come to the ribbon cutting at the DTE building. I think it's going to be fun. And I have been told that I am going to be sitting next to the president of DTE, and I promise to be on my best behavior.
I know you won't be.
I promise I will be. So on that note, thank you, everybody, for coming.
I thought I saw that he was coming. I thought, oh, this is perfect. This is just perfect.
And-
Stuart's going to be so good.